Cowl, and this is the 14th episode of Sol y Yodo. I am a New Yorker living and knitting in the south of Spain, and I make this podcast to share about all of my creations and about herbalism. In every episode, I like to talk about what I'm knitting, what I have finished, all my finished projects, some things I have learned along the way, and I always like to talk about a plant at the end of the episode. So yeah, thank you for coming back if this is not your first time watching my podcast, and if it is the first time, welcome. You are very welcome here, as many of my podcasting friends say. Yeah, I'm just really happy to be part of this whole online knitting community, and I love sharing what I'm doing. It makes me really excited to continue working because I know that I get to share it with all of you. And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about this top that I'm wearing that I've finished. We will also be talking about some other projects that I have recently finished, some projects I'm working on. The plant of today is Artemisa Vulgaris, which is known as mugwort or croneswort or maidenwort sometimes. So we'll talk about that at the end of the episode. And yeah, and it is a bilingual podcast. So if you speak Spanish, there's another episode which is basically identical. I try to say the same things in Spanish. So, or maybe you're learning Spanish and you want to practice, so you can sit and knit or do whatever you want, wash the dishes, and you can listen to me talk about my projects in Spanish. Not perfect Spanish, no. I have been living here for 12 years in September 2021. So it's a long time. I live in Granada in the south, in Andalusia, and it's beautiful. I love it. We are now in August, which is a very hot month here. We had an insane heat wave. I think it was probably like 110. But today, I left my house and I realized that it is cloudy, and I checked the weather and apparently 90% chance of rain. So this podcast might be cut short because of rain, but I don't believe them. I don't think so. I have Oso here with me. He's really chill. He's being a good dog. He's my dog. And yeah. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so first I wanted to talk about two projects which I have on hold. I haven't touched them in a really long time. One of them is the painted brick sweater, and this is a pattern by Stephen West. I will put the photo up here, and I'm knitting it for my partner. And one reason why I'm not knitting it now in summer is because it is really hot. So to have this big sweater on my lap is not really enjoyable this time of year. So yeah, and another thing that happened was that I'm a little bit disappointed because it seems like it's gonna be too big. I don't know what happened, because I was knitting the yoke as pattern goes with a yarn that's perfect for the pattern, and I felt like the yoke was getting too big. I talked about this in not the last episode, the previous episode, and I said I'm going to stop doing the increases for the, I stopped where it was for the extra small size, and I was planning on doing the medium according to my numbers. And so then, because I stopped doing the increases, then I was like, well, maybe it's going to be too small. So on the underarm part, I added some extra stitches under the arm. But now I think it's too big. So, and I've knit like about this much from the underarm, which is a lot. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to think about it a little bit. But for now, it's on hold. I think that I will pick it back up by the next time I see you, hopefully. The other project that it has been on hold most of the summer is my Noki Cardigan, which is a beautiful cabled pattern, photo here, which I am knitting with a beautiful Tintika yarn that is dyed in logwood It's gorgeous. It's like this periwinkle lavender color, which I'm obsessed with, that it's like slightly variegated, so like you can see these like almost like pinkish purples and like grayish purples. It's so pretty. Natural dyes are amazing. And yes, I'm knitting that, but the problem there was that the pattern was one size fits all, which made me think, all right, well, since it's one size fits all, I don't have to swatch because it's only one size. But what I realized was that I could have varied, because I knew I wasn't going to do the math to change anything because of all the cables and everything, but I could have changed my needle size. Duh. That's such an important thing to think about. If you have a one size fits all pattern, if you use smaller needles, your project will come out smaller. If you use bigger needles, it'll come out bigger. And I'm using the needles that the pattern said to use. I was like, oh, I'll just use these. I should have checked it out because mine, I feel like it's gonna be huge. I don't know. Well, I do know. It's gonna be big. And it's a super wash yarn, so it's gonna grow a little bit. But you know what? I think it could be cool. I'm gonna keep going because I've got all of the front body done. It's a cardigan. All of this front part done, and like the shoulder, like I just need to do like that much in the back, and then I'm done. No, that's a lie. Then I have to do the sleeves. But I'm thinking because it's gonna be so big, maybe I could do like shorter sleeves or something. Like, I don't know. We're gonna see what happens, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm excited. I've picked it back up again and it's a super fun knit. It's really entertaining. The yarn is just so beautiful, so it makes me happy. And yeah, so hopefully next time I see you, it'll be finished. Could that be? You know, it's so funny. I'm sitting out here. I don't know if I said that in English, but I have Oso with me, my dog. I think I might have said that. I don't know. I record these like one part in Spanish and then one part in English. One part in Spanish, one part in English. I might have said that already as well. Anyway, but the weather said it was going to rain, 90% chance. And I was like, ooh, and I'm going to the forest to record a podcast. But now I think the sun's going to come out and then it's going to get really hot. So it's early in the morning. I left my house at 9. I was like, I'm going to go do some podcasting before the cicadas wake up. Because in the afternoon, it's just like bzzz, everything like making so much noise. Anyway, you might see the sun. Al sol y punto, which means to the sun and knitting, or to the sun and that's it. That's the name of my podcast. Al sol y punto. Okay, more things. Speaking of the name of my podcast, which is Al sol y punto, we're going to talk about Al sol y Yodo, which is my newest knit pattern design. And I am so proud of myself. Okay, maybe I can get up and show you. Hold on one sec. Okay, so I'm not going to stand up right now because Oso is very chill, and if I start jumping around, he's going to start jumping around. So we're going to stay the way we are, and I realize that the sun is behind me, like directly behind me. I hope that that's not annoying. I tend to record like that. Anyway, so I'll show you, I'll insert some footage of me standing up, but the bottom you can see is like like the waves. So this top was inspired by the beautiful beaches of Barbate, Cádiz, Spain, in the Cabo de Trafalgar, which is the most beautiful place in the world, in my opinion. I mean, there are beautiful places, but this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beach. It's amazing. I love the beach. And this yarn, the blue set, is, well, it was a set of naturally dyed indigo, and on the back I have the green. And here I have a beautiful yellow, which I naturally dyed, and here, this is the fun part of the pattern. I love this part. This is also the yellow stripe, which you'll see when I stand up later, or maybe I'll have put that segment in already. And this yellow was a cotton yarn that the wonderful Nat of Nat Knits Crafts sent to me in white, and she said this is so that you can naturally dye, and so I dyed it a yellow color with turmeric. So this is all naturally dyed. We've got indigo to make green. I'm not sure how Shipshi's made the green from the indigo, but there's many ways to do that. And in the front, I decided to like change up the colors, and the back is a lot more solid, although it does have a slight fade to it because the set is to make like a fade. But because this top used like 130 grams of yarn, or meters, I'll put the information here, it does not use a lot of yarn, and so I didn't even use up half of the set. So when I started to do the front part, which it is a reversible top, so, but I like the blue in the front. So when I started to do this part, I decided to change up the colors. And it's such a fun knit. I have the pattern. It was definitely a labor of love. Writing up a pattern, I was like, oh, this pattern is going to be so easy to write up. It is a really easy pattern, but when you start like editing the document and just like making sure that everything is there, and it takes a long time, but I'm so proud of myself that it's done. So anyone who wants to knit this pattern, it is now available, and it is called Al Sol y Yodo, which I don't really, it's like the sun and iodine, which sounds kind of weird in English, but you know, the ocean has all of this iodine, which is really good for you, you know. So, and it was the name of like a house that is for rent in one of the beaches there in Cara, and yeah, so I named the top Sol y Yodo, and I love it. And I don't know if you have this, I think it's really funny because this is aquamarine and silver, and the silver is kind of, it looks like my top, I realized this morning, and this is a necklace that was made and designed by Noki Cardigan, which I have an episode with Isabel, because on this channel I also do interviews with other creatives and makers. So there is a interview with this silver jewelry designer a few episodes back, so go check that out, and I think it goes perfectly with my Sol y Yodo top. It is really fun to knit. It uses Kitchener stitch on the shoulders. You knit it flat with the feather and fan, and then Kitchener stitch on the, there is a little bit of Kitchener stitch in this, but if you don't know how to do Kitchener stitch, just practice, because it is so easy and rewarding. Like when you can join two knitted fabrics together and like not realize, it's amazing, it's magic, and it's really easy. If you, in the pattern, I have lots of links to all of the techniques that I use or suggest. I put links to video tutorials, so like everything is there, so you don't have to worry if you don't know any technique, because it's all laid out for you. And I love this side section, and it's fun because the way that this is knit, you can, so this is the side segment. First of all, cotton like grows so much. So the way that this is knit, like if you realize, like what happens to me a lot when you start knitting, maybe your tension changes, it's different from your swatch, or I don't know, somehow it works out bigger than you imagined or smaller than you imagined. You can like adjust the size of your top by adjusting the size of the side panel. So it's really great because it's like that built-in margin of error at the end of the project that you can fiddle with and make it perfect for your size. So excited about El Sol y Yodo. Sol y Yodo top. Okay? I will put the information down below. If anyone wants to knit it, please show me. I have a few patterns now, which it's crazy that I have like pattern designs available, all thanks to this podcast and this community and everyone who has been so supportive to me. But I have the Anam Cara shawl, and to see people's versions of that shawl just like makes me cry. It's so amazing. So please, if you ever knit any of my patterns, like send me a picture, tag me. I will put it in the podcast. I would love if you want me to, or if that's okay. But it's so cool. It's like seeing like your children around the world, you know, like if someone knits your pattern, it's so exciting. Anyway, okay, more things. Oh, speaking of my pattern, now I'm going to show you something else that I designed. Okay, so I'm recording this right after I finished. Also has found some leaves that he likes that he's eating from the grass, but it actually just started raining. Isn't that exciting? And it's so hot, so it feels great. And there's a magpie. Oh, but I wanted to show you my top. I'm gonna show it to you like this. I don't know, maybe it's kind of difficult because I'm not using the tripod little thing or sticking, so you can see the bottom. Oh, and the back, I can show you the back is green and the neck is beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what is living in my beautiful sandbag. In here I have my Cuello Salteña, which is a pattern that I designed last year, and I also have a lot of sand and some adorable stitch markers. Look at these. Oh my god, how cute. And this cable needle. Do you guys use cable needles? It's really cool. Anyway, so sorry, my nose is itchy. I know a lot of people get bothered on podcasts if people touch their hair, their face. I do all of those things. I apologize. I also say and and all that. Anyway, speaking of adorable stitch markers, look at these that my sister-in-law gave me. This one is an adorable, I don't want to show you that one yet. This one is adorable little ice cream pup, which is perfect for summer, and look at how well it matches. Oh my god. And then this one, because she knows that I'm a New Yorker who loves my Starbucks. I know Starbucks is not, I know it's controversial, but I don't know, it just reminds me of high school. One of my best friends worked at Starbucks and got me addicted to coffee when I was like 14 or 15 maybe. Anyway, I haven't had Starbucks in a long time. We have one here, but it's just really expensive compared to just a coffee on the street here. One day, my favorite is iced caramel macchiato. Now I want one. Okay. Anyway, I'm knitting with the most beautiful yarn. Let me show you. This is a fuzzy, fluffy, amazing mohair from Heather and Hops from Kat of the Heather and Hops podcast. She dyed this in the colorway Into the Summer, which is a song by Incubus. We've talked about this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch older episodes. I record so infrequently that sometimes I don't know if I've talked about something before. I'm pretty sure that in the last episode I told you for the second time the story about how I met Brandon Boyd of Incubus. Not going to tell you again, but I apologize if I repeat myself because, oh, side note, yeah, let me go off on a tangent here. I love to binge watch podcasts or listen to podcasts in a row. So, one podcast I have been listening to, we'll start with the listening to is the podcast de Turín. So this is in Spanish. This is a couple from Chile who, it is Paula and Pablo. And Pablo doesn't knit, but he's awesome. And Paula does knit. And they just have this audio podcast, which is so good. And I listened to like all the episodes up to now in like maybe 10 days. It was intense. But if I find a podcast I like, I want to start from the beginning. Not always, because sometimes it's just like hundreds of episodes. Like when I found The Fat Squirrel, Amy Beth, I was not going to go back to the beginning because there's so many. She has like 300 episodes. Congratulations, by the way, by doing so many episodes. And if you don't know The Fat Squirrel podcast, like Maggie says, if you don't know her, then I don't think you would be here because she's like a really popular. Anyway, speaking of Maggie, Maggie's another podcast, the Saunder podcast. And I suggest you go check out the Saunder podcast, which is like knitting, reading, and medicine. So she talks about knitting, reading, and she's a doctor. She's a new doctor in Denver, Colorado. And she's amazing. I found her, I don't even know how I found her. But when I found her, I was like, oh, I love this girl. And I love the way she talks about books because it makes me really excited. I love reading as well. And I love all that she knits. And I love that she's a doctor. And she reminds me of my little brother because I think she's a few years younger than me, I believe. And so is my brother, and he's also a new doctor, and I don't know. I like to listen to her, and more than anyway. I was gonna say more than reminding me of my brother reminds me of my new sister-in-law, my brother's wife, because they kind of look alike too. And so I don't know, she just like feels like home to me because I live so far away from those people that I love. And anyway, why did I start talking about this? Oh, because when you binge watch podcasts, when you watch them from the beginning, and I was gonna say, check out the Saunder podcast and watch her first video where she explains the meaning of Saunder, because I think it's really beautiful. And I think that it has a lot to do. I'm not going to tell you what it means so that you go look at her podcast and watch all of her episodes like I did. I'm like slowly getting to the present day, but I've been watching them like So when you binge watch podcasts, you realize when people tell the same story twice. And I'm sure that I do that a bunch, but that's okay. Because I also think it's really good, because then like it reinforces that story, and maybe it's something that's going to help you learn. Like Maggie talks about ladder back jacquard, which I think is fascinating. I haven't tried it yet. I should have tried it in a project that I'm going to show you now, but I didn't. But she mentions it a few times, and I think that's really cool, because sometimes it's good to repeat yourself, because then people learn it. Also, she talked in a bunch of episodes about her favorite book this year, which is The House by the Cerulean Sea. I also listened to that in an audiobook. August was like a hot month, and like you couldn't do anything, and I'm an English teacher, and so I have a lot less students now in the summer, and just a lot of free time where it's too hot to actually enjoy. Anyway, so I did a lot of like listening to things, knitting and stuff, and so I listened to that audiobook too. I would highly recommend it. It was really sweet. It's like a school for magical children. It's fiction, but it's not like it's literary fiction. It's for like adults, but it's about a school for magical children. Like, like Harry Potter kind of thing, but not. Anyway, check it out, The House by the Cerulean Sea. I very much enjoyed it, listening to it, and yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you my knitting. Okay, yeah, so Heather and Hops. I think Kat talks about Maggie from the Saunder podcast, but I don't know, I never clicked. I really don't know where it started with Maggie, but I love her podcast, and she's the person I've been watching now a lot. Anyway, Kat, Heather, and Hops. Oh, now it's in the dirt. And my beautiful Tintika. This is naturally dyed and amazing. This is merino and silk, and this is mohair silk. Together we make this look. I've never had a halo that halo-y. So another podcast I really enjoy is the Caddy Jacks podcast, and they are doing a year-long knit-along. Well, it's like a school year knit-along, so from September to June, which is called the Find Your Fluff knit-along. So find your fluff, and basically anything that has fluff can count. So this is clearly something that could count for that knit-along. Find your fluff. So this is the Cuello Salteña. This is my Salteña cowl, which has this beautiful, in my opinion, beautiful cable stitches throughout it. It makes like a really nice fabric that stands up really well on its own, which is something that I love about this. This was my design last year for the Knit 3 Words Challenge, and which caused me to start this podcast and everything. You can go back to my first episode and hear about the inspiration behind this cowl, but it's a cowl that is really fun because you knit it like this, and then here we're gonna start increasing, so the cowl will like grow out around you, which I think is a really nice way to have a cowl, because it stays up warm here, but then like it like opens up. So I love this pattern. I love this yarn and this fiber that it is making, fabric it's making, and it's just so soft. It's like, oh, like my grandma would say, it's soft as a pussycat's tail. Oh, I love it. Okay, so that is the Cuello Salteña. The pattern is available. I'll leave the information down below It's a fun pattern. I highly recommend it. Okay. Okay, and I want to show you my dear friend Ida. And I have created a pattern for the Knit 3 Words Challenge. And I don't really want to, okay, here's also, I don't really want to talk about it until she and I talk about it on our joint podcast, which is called TTT, which the 4th episode is in English, so you can go and watch that. And we talk about natural dyeing and everything, and she's really awesome. So go check that out. It's on my channel. The previous episode, TTT in English. Tinchika and Time Talks. So we designed a pattern and it's awesome, and I'm going to show you really quickly. Oh my god, look at these mittens. So here's the other one. It's inside out. I'm not going to show you. I don't want to give away the surprise, but I am going to tell you that the name of this pattern is Dear Friends, because we're 2 dear friends making these deer mittens. What do you think about it? Isn't that great? It's so great. Okay, no more. We're going to talk about it in our joint podcast. But this pattern will be available on the 3rd of September. And I love it. I think it's really cool. This is the pattern that I probably should have done the ladder back jacquard, because they're like really long floats that you have to like pick up all the time. But look at these floats. They're pretty good, because you can tell that like from here to here, and then they have all these little fleas. The little hearts, I always call them little hearts. And Latvian braids, which I love. Okay, no more giving away the secret, but that pattern will be available very soon. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I didn't mention that, but I'm ThymeWeaver. So follow me on Instagram, because that's where I'm most active, and you will see more information about these awesome mitts. When you put them together, the dear friends become one. Oh my god, so cool. Anyway, we'll talk about that in TTT. Okay, so last little thing before we go on to the plants. I talked about this in the last episode of TTT, which is in English, so you can go watch that. But I don't think I've spoken about it here. And if I have, well, I'm just going to repeat myself because it's awesome. I received 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 gifts from knitting friends, all on the same day, which was a day that I was having like a bad day. And it was crazy because I was like sitting on the floor, totally frogging this top, because I had a whole different idea for the front part. And Oso's like wants to be moving. We're gonna move in like a little bit. Oh, you're such a sweetheart. Ahora vamos. So I was just sitting on the floor. There was a lot of things that had happened, and to top it off, I was like frogging like a week's worth of work. And I said to myself, Nicole, stop it. Like, everything happens for a reason. It's fine. Like, this is all gonna be okay. And in that moment, I'm not lying, the doorbell rang. And it was a gift that came from Madrid. I was like, from Madrid? Who do I know with this name in Madrid? And it was from the brother of my friend in Australia, Erica, who sent something to her brother in Madrid that then sent it to me. And she knit me something. But not only knit me something, she spun the yarn and then knit something and sent it to me. And it's amazing. This is like the most special piece that I own now. This is a cowl, hand spun and hand knit by the beautiful Erica. I'm going to leave her information down below because she's got an awesome Instagram feed with all that she does. Oh my god, it's so warm. It is probably 100 degrees, but I'm going to put it on because it is so full of love. And this cowl, this was because Erica was in, because she's amazing. This is because she's amazing. Erica was in a knit along that I hosted in the beginning of the year, which was for the Jupiter cowl by Marianela Gallo. And we were in the Zoom knit night, and she was talking about how she received a spinning Advent, which I think is really cool, an Advent for spinners. and it came with a bunch of fiber, and she was working on a fiber that was Corriedale, yak, and alpaca. I love yak, I love alpaca, and I had never worked with Corriedale. And she was saying, oh, in Australia it never gets cold enough to like really try out this yarn. And I was like, oh, I'll try it out for you, whatever, whenever you want. And she remembered that I said that, and she spun it up and sent it to me. So I have the most beautiful cowl ever, and I am so thankful to her and thankful to everyone in this beautiful knitting community. You guys are all so amazing. I'm gonna take it off next time, but I'm excited. Also, a brief interruption. It wouldn't be a Sol y Punto podcast without my little oso. So, we're almost done. Thanks for sticking with me and hanging out with me while I talk to you about all my things. This is like a knitting journal also for myself. Like, I never go back and rewatch my episodes, but maybe in a few years I will. Or, I don't know. I think it's cool to have them. So, the next thing that arrived on that lucky day were some, I've got like mohair in my nose, were some amazing handmade flower buttons from Chile. So this is from an amazing friend who I actually won her giveaway, and that's why I got these. And then we did like a swap. I sent her stitch markers, which still haven't arrived because the mail in Chile is difficult anyway. But look at how amazing they are. She sent me 3 sets. I've already used one set for this like denim dress that was missing buttons, and it's so cool. I will add some photos here. And look at these buttons. She puts flowers in them, and she makes them like all different sizes. Sorry. That's a mohair sneeze right there. But aren't they amazing? This button is on the pants of my boyfriend because he said, oh, I want some of those, and he was missing a button on one of his favorite pair of pants, and I was like, okay, you can have one. And I already know what the rest of these are going to be for. I'm super excited. And I know what these are going to be for too. Oh, so where are you trying to go, babe? Where are you trying to go? I know that you're like on the leash. I'm sorry. Oh my God, what a good boy. We're going to go to the river now. He's going to love it. It's going to be great. And these little ones, like, can't you see them on like a really cute like 50s style like cardigan? Like fingering weight cardigan. Oh, they're so cute. And she even put, because I don't know, one day we were talking because she posted a picture on, she's a beautiful Instagram feed, and she posted a picture of red clover, which is one of my favorite flowers, and I told her, and she even put red clover in the buttons. So amazing. I love them, and I love her work. That's from Chile, from Casa de Opio. Casa de Opio. I'll leave her information down below. And then the next thing that arrived, which was so sweet, was from my dear Susan of Wild Cottage Knitting. I'm sorry, Susan. I don't know why I always mess up the name of your podcast. I don't know. It should be easy. Wild Country, Wild Cottage. And so Susan sent me the most amazing gift. She knew, I was talking to her about this cashmere, Afghan, hand spun by women in Afghanistan cashmere. I like took it out of the skein and then tried to put it back and didn't do very well, but it's just so soft and so amazing. I was talking to her about this yarn because this yarn comes from Irish Fiber Crafters, which is a shop in her village or nearby her. It's like her local yarn shop, and they had this amazing cashmere, and it's made in a cottage industry by women in Afghanistan. We are proud to offer our 100% cashmere yarn. The spinning of our yarn provides an important source of income for women in Afghanistan, many of whom have been left as heads of households by over a decade of war. Yeah. So this is gray, undyed hair of Afghan goats. Oh my God. anyway, it's amazing, and her podcast is also amazing. But I was talking to her about this yarn because my father wants me to knit him he's been asking me for years to knit him a cashmere sweater. So I don't know what sweater I'm going to knit him or when I'm going to knit it, but I was thinking that I can use this he also wants it to be like beige, like very natural tones. So I was thinking with like a lighter color yarn. I don't know what kind of yarn, probably not 100% cashmere for the entire sweater, because that would be a really nice sweater, but he deserves it because he's awesome. But I was thinking that I could use like this darker color in like the yoke part, maybe do like slip stitches. I don't know, I gotta work on that, but this is a yarn that lives also on my desk, and I just like look at it all day long and I love it. So those are all my things I think that I have to show you today. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't think so. And Oso is ready for our walk. So we're gonna go walk, enjoy this beautiful Sunday. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here and for sticking with me. If you got to this part, like, good for you. I hope that you got a lot of knitting done or dishes washed or whatever. And I wish you the best. I send you all of my love, and thank you to everyone for all of your support and comments. It like makes my day when I get comments from you all, and when you share things, when you share ideas, or if you give me like tips on things that I complain about in my knitting. And yeah, I'm just really thankful to all of you, and I'm happy to be here and to share with you, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day, week, month. I don't know when I'll see you again, but I'm sure we'll talk soon. Okay, so have fun. Happy knitting. Ciao. Ready? ¿Vamos a dar una vuelta? ¿Vamos a andar? ¿Sí? Okay. Ciao. Okay, so now I'm here from the comfort of my own home, and before we get on to the plants, I did want to say a few things. Well, one, I'm going to be inserting some videos from another day that I recorded about a really beautiful shawl that I have in my possession, which is called the Amber Shawl. And I wanted to mention amber because in the video I was saying that it's different from other gemstones or natural stones because amber is actually fossilized tree resin. And I did not say that in the video. So yeah, so I wanted to talk about that, and I also wanted to talk about my stitch markers. For some time now, I've been thinking about the fact that I was making, so if this is the first time that you're here and you don't know me, or I don't know, you might not know that I make semi-precious stone stitch markers like these ones which I have right here, which these are made with rose quartz and a light green jade. But there was a set that I was making that I bought a strand of coral stones. And because coral is from the ocean and is alive and it's something that needs to be protected, I've decided not to be purchasing any more coral stones to use for my stitch markers because I don't think that it is respectful towards the ocean, and I even question this when I am using stones. Like, I also make earrings, these hoops, these are silver hoops with agate stones, but because like quartz and agate are things that are so much more abundant in nature. Here I have actually, these were the coral stones that I was using, and I love them, I love the color, but I'm not going to be purchasing any more of these because I don't think that it's right to promote this industry. But quartz and rose quartz and agate and things like this, I will continue to be making those. So if you're interested in any of my stitch markers, let me know. I love to make like custom sets for people. If people tell me like, listen Nicole, I really want to work with this stone or these colors or this stuff. I am not an expert, nor we have a skateboarder over here. Noisy streets, that's why I try to record in the countryside, but in the countryside we have the cicadas and everything else going on. But yes, so I love to make custom sets, and what I was saying is that I'm not an expert in the healing powers of stones, nor the healing powers of plants. I mean, I know a lot more about plants than about stones, I would say, but I love stones. And I'm not a medical doctor, so anything I talk about in the plant section of my podcasts should be taken, you should do your own research, but I just share my knowledge of them. So anyway, so that was just my little side note about the coral, and it was brought to my attention by a knitting friend. Hello, you know who you are. I don't know if you watch in English or Spanish, but I'll be repeating this disclaimer in the Spanish section as well. And what else did I want to tell you about? I could tell you about this sock that I'm knitting on that I didn't get to show you. So this sock is a beautiful yarn from the Sock Club of Woolen Witch, and this was her March box, and I actually asked her to send me not one but 2 balls of 20 gram skein, and I thought, oh, I can make some shorty socks with 20 grams. Well, it was a little bit short, so I divided what I had left of this yarn, which is yarn that I used last year for my Cuello Salteña, and this is by Dingo Londango, and this was their beach colorway, and I love it. And so I'm just using that at the top of the sock, and why not? I love it. I think it's great. It's really fun, and they're for me, so I don't care if the color changes. They're both blues. And I think it's cool, so I'm going to just knit until I run out. That's why I love knitting bottom up socks, because you could just knit and knit and knit until you have no more yarn. And these are on my little small Haya, and they are very sharp, Haya sharps. I like it, but I feel like my hands get tired knitting like that. And actually I was trying to knit the mittens on these, but because of the color work, I could not use these with color work. So I had to use these, which I think it's really funny that they're like so bent because of the way that I knit. I guess I like press on it or something, but I don't mind. They're fine. That's that. I can also show you that I'm here. My progress on this guy. This is my Noki Cardigan. And here I have another coral. I was like, well, I'll use the coral for myself. Not promoted anywhere else. But I do have some coral stones left, not very many. I've gifted them a lot and sold a few sets, and yeah. So this is the back, and as you can see, it's very wide. This is the back, and then here I have the 2 front panels that will fold. I don't know, I'll show it to you next time when it's finished, maybe, I don't know. But the cool thing is that in the pattern, this is like the front part. It's like the button band, but it's not a button. Oh, and this is the stitch marker that came with the Steph, who has Woolen Witch podcast and the Woolen Witch yarn. She makes these really cool stitch markers for her secret sub club box. You know I love secrets and special boxes and things. So in the pattern you have the choice to fold this over or not. So I will clearly, my computer is going to die. So I will fold this over so that it's like even smaller. And yes, so those are the things, all the things. What else did I want to mention? When I was walking back from recording the other segments, I was like, there's definitely more I wanted to talk about. Oh, this. I have all the things on the desk that look at me all day. This. And where's the other one? I think it's over here. It is. Ooh, this is going to go into I'm going to invent, design. I don't know if I'll write the pattern for it, maybe. I have an idea for making a Shark Week top. I don't know, when it was Shark Week, if you know what Shark Week is, when everyone just talks about sharks, sharks are amazing. And I was like, I'm gonna design a pattern that has to do with sharks. And so, Shark Week was like in July, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to use hedgehog fibers, Life in the Long Grass, and Anka's yak. This is like undyed yak. I love yak. And I'm gonna make a top. Someone's listening to reggaeton or something in their car. So that's it. I don't know. If I think of more things, I'll come back. Okay, and one other thing that I wanted to mention, because I'm really excited and proud about it, and I wanted to share here, even though I feel a little bit embarrassed about this, but only because, anyway, I'll explain. Getting ahead of myself. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a lot of friends who were making YouTube channels, and I thought I want a YouTube channel too. So I decided to make an audiobook, to record an audiobook, like a book that I liked and record it as an audiobook and share it on the internet. And at that time, I found this like magical Russian fairy tale book series, which is very bizarre, I have to say. And there's a lot of things in the book that I don't really agree with, but at the time I'd like read maybe like 4 chapters and I was like, this is really cool. I would love to listen to it while I'm knitting, because I'm a knitter who cannot read a book. Maybe if I had an ebook, but I don't. So like to read like paper books and knit at the same time, for me, I don't know how people would do that. You would probably need like a stand or something. But anyway, so I like to listen to audiobooks while I knit, and there wasn't one. So I said, well, I'm going to record this book in audiobook version. And so I just started. And I would go up to the mountain, and probably there are lots of chapters maybe that you can hear, like the sounds of the loud bugs in the forest, or the wind or something. I think I got better, like trying to find better places with better acoustics in the forest, but there's definitely some noisy videos in there. And as I read it myself, I record it. So like I just read out loud, and that's when I went like reading the book. So there were definitely parts that I was reading this book out loud and I was like, what? So it's very bizarre, but it's beautiful, and I think that there is a lot you can take away from it if you like look past some of the things which are questionable. But the book is called Anastasia and the Ringing Cedars series, and this, like I said, it's like a Russian fairy tale, and there's like definitely lots of religious aspects in there and spiritual things, and so much about the plants and everything. And so that's what made me fall in love with it, all of the plants and all of the magic and stuff. So anyway, so I just finished after all these years, because it's 10 books. So I don't even know how many videos I have on there. So I'm going to leave that down below. And I also have another YouTube channel, which I only made like, I don't know, 10 videos. For anyone who is here and is a native Spanish speaker or any other language speaker who is learning English and listening to my videos in English, I have a channel where I made a few videos about grammar and about common mistakes in English, and I made this at the beginning of the pandemic for my students in a high school, and I would send it to them, and like then I would like correct their mistakes in the videos, and I think it is helpful for anyone who is learning English. So if that's you and you want to check that out, I'll leave that down below as well. And what else? Yeah, I don't know. I don't plan on making more of those English videos unless there's like a specific topic someone wants me to talk about. But I do still continue to give English classes like online and stuff. So, but yeah, but making more videos, I don't know, maybe in the future. But for now, I like my knitting videos, and I finished my audiobook, so that's really exciting. And I don't know. Now we're going to go on to the next video, which is about the Amber Shawl by Tintika. So I'm going to leave that video, and then we'll go talk about the plants. So this is like a long video. I don't know how many minutes it'll be, but a lot. So have fun. Hi friends. So this is just a quick little video I wanted to share about a beautiful shawl that I have in my possession right now. But I'm going to send it back to the owner, and I just wanted to make this little video because I think it is such a beautiful shawl. So this shawl is called the Amber Shawl, and this is a design by the one and only Tintika. I absolutely love this shawl. Obviously, all of the yarn has been naturally dyed, and I just think it's such a beautiful piece. It's such like a long shawl, so it's really comfortable to wear if you're not into those like big shawls, and it's fun to use up any like mini skeins that you might have, or even some scraps. I could imagine the different colors being in like all the different stripes. You can make them closer or further apart. The pattern hopefully will be released when this video comes out. I'm not sure when she's planning on releasing it, but isn't that beautiful? So it has this like feather and fan motif here at the bottom, and it's knit on the bias in this way, and it's very, very long and beautiful. And this is called the Amber Shawl because of these amazing colors. And since it is by our lovely Tintika, you must know that these are all naturally dyed. So we have here the amazing yellow of chamomile. Then we have this orange color, which honestly, I'm not even sure how she got this. We're gonna have to ask her. I wanna say pomegranate, but I'm not sure. Then we have our beautiful rubia, which is madder root, this red here, or this pink salmony color. And then we have our cochineal. So again, I always think that all the naturally dyed yarn goes amazingly together, but these colors specifically in the Amber Shawl. So I just wanted to share that before I send it back to her. And yeah, I just wanted to share it with you all. And her yarn, of course, is gorgeous. But I think this pattern is really fun because you can just keep going until you run out of yarn. So it's like a nice stash buster. Or Tintika, I know she sells like mini sets, and I'm sure if you talk to her, she could probably dye you up these colors if you were interested, because I think they're really beautiful. And that is the Amber Shawl in the beautifully naturally dyed yarn of Aida from Tintika. I think I was showing it backwards in the video. This is the frontwards. But I mean, shawls like this are kind of reversible. And I talked to Aida and I found out that this has been dyed with onion skin. Isn't that amazing? God, natural dyes are so cool. Look at how it glows, like in the sun. This is totally the Amber Shawl. It's so beautiful. I think I need to keep it. If it wasn't August, I would totally be wearing it for you all, but it's August and it's hot. But this is something you want to knit now. So this was knit in sport. You could totally knit it in, look at how long it is. Like you could totally knit this in DK or in fingering, you know. And I really think that you can just keep knitting more if you want. So this is definitely a great stash buster, or if you want to try and do like a natural dye sampler. Aida has some beautiful colors, but this is the front. Isn't that cool? I love it. Love it. Okay, so today's plant I'm going to talk about is Artemisa vulgaris, which vulgaris means actually like common. So this is the common mugwort. It's also known as crownswort or sometimes maidenwort, but Artemisa vulgaris. It is in the Asteraceae family, so it's similar to like daisies. It is native to Europe and to Asia and can be found in most parts of North America. It can grow, I don't know, up to almost 8 feet tall. I've heard of it growing up to like 2, 3, 4 meters, like really tall. I've never seen it that tall. And so the name comes from mug, mugwort, because this was the plant that was used to flavor alcoholic drinks before hops. Possibly. There's also the idea that in Old Norse, the word muggy comes from marsh, like meaning marsh, because it's where this plant can grow. Yes, I'm not really sure why it's called mugwort, but one of my favorite herbal teachers, Susan Weed, is famous for saying that mugwort told her, "Don't call me mugwort. I have nothing to do with the drunken fantasies of men. Call me cronewort. See the silver hairs on the back of my leaves? I offer you the visions of the wise old crone." If you don't know what a crone is like a wise older woman. No, there's like the maiden years when a woman is young and a maiden, no, and then there is the mother years, and then there is the crone time, like after being a mother, and when maybe now you are a grandmother or a crone. So yes, mugwort is known as the bringer of dreams. This is a very magical plant. There's lots of lore about magic around this plant, which you can all investigate for yourselves. By the way, I'm going to mention this once again. I am not a doctor, so if I talk about any ways of using this plant internally or anything, investigate on your own, talk to your medical professionals, and don't take my word for it, but I will just share my knowledge with you. Yes, so mugwort can be used really not even internally for dreams, but many people make scented dream pillows. So you just take the leaves and dry them, and then they're sewn into like a sachet. And I think that's really beautiful. And all you sewers out there, you could totally make a mugwort pillow, or cronewort. Let's call her cronewort from now on. Cronewort. So you can make a cronewort pillow, like you make a lavender sachet, you can make a cronewort sachet. And it's also used in moxibustion, which is like using acupuncture points and the smoke of the cronewort or the Artemisa. Yes, and you could also make like a smudge stick and burn it, and it smells really nice. And Artemis is the goddess of healing and the moon and the hunt. No, Diana, right? Diana in, I think, the Roman mythology, or Artemis in the Greek mythology. It has been used often in teas or tinctures for women's reproductive ailments, if you have cramps, or to moderate bleeding, and also to bring on the menses, to bring on the period. So it is not recommended for pregnant women and even for breastfeeding women. It's an emmenagogue, which means that it can stimulate the uterus to bring on a period. So obviously if someone is with a pregnancy, a wanted pregnancy, you don't want to be consuming mugwort, cronewort in large amounts internally. It is a bitter aromatic herb, so it is wonderful to improve digestion and liver function. It can ease any gas pains that you might have. It has a very high mineral content. I think it has a lot of magnesium, and you can take the leaves and put them into maybe apple cider vinegar and make a salad dressing or marinade. You let them infuse into the vinegar for a few weeks, and you could start using it as soon as it tastes good. It is very interesting because I have a plant here in Granada which I have always thought was mugwort, and it smells beautiful. I don't know if it smells like mugwort because I've only had dried mugwort from like shops, herbal shops and stuff, but I've never had the plant in real life and someone telling, or in alive, you know. And now I'm in the doubt that it could possibly be ragweed, which I think is incredible because who knew that ragweed and cronewort look so similar? But actually, common ragweed is called Ambrosia artemisifolia. So like even in the botanical name, Artemisia is Ambrosia artemisifolia is common ragweed. So I don't know. I don't know if common ragweed has a scent like this plant that I often visit. And I don't know if common ragweed has the silver bottoms under the leaves. But the one that I visit does. That's why I thought it was cronewort. But this like little inkling of doubt has come to me now, and I don't know. But anyway, maybe I'm going to put some videos in here of the plant that I visit, and maybe someone can tell me. The thing is that I've never seen this plant in flower, and I think that it's easiest to tell ragweed and cronewort apart when it's in flower. But the mugwort or the Artemisia that I think that I'm seeing is in a garden, and it's always like cut down before it flowers. So I don't know what the flowers look like. Or at least I've never seen them. Anyway, in the Artemisia family, there's Artemisia vulgaris, which is the one I'm speaking of, but there's also wormwood, which is Artemisia absinthium. And if that name sounds familiar, absinthe is where the name comes from, because the plant wormwood was used to make absinthe, which is, have you seen, what's that film? Moulin Rouge, no? With the absinthe. Anyway, absinthe, you know the drink, right? The alcoholic drink, which brings on visions, just like Artemisia vulgaris can also bring on dreams. It definitely, I mean, I've tried Artemisia vulgaris in the dried form, bought and labeled from a shop, and I've had that in tea form, and I have had very intense dreams. I think that if you are prone to nightmares, it could make your nightmares worse or something, so be careful with that as well. I mean, you could try it as like a dream pillow, and then if you like it, people use it for like lucid dreaming. They say that if you dream in black and white, Artemisia vulgaris will make you dream in color, and if you already dream in color, Artemisia vulgaris will allow you to make decisions in your dreams. I don't know. There is also Artemisia annua, which is Sweet Annie. And this plant, this Artemisia, has been shown to inhibit the replication of a certain virus, which is bothering us these days. In Madagascar, it's used to fight malaria. And yeah, I think Artemisia in general is really good for like inhibiting the replication of any virus. So yes. Also Tarragon. Tarragon is in the Artemisia family. It's Artemisia dracunculus. White sagebrush, not to be confused with sage, but white sagebrush is also Artemisia ludoviciana. I don't know how to pronounce it. And yes, it is just, Artemisia vulgaris is a wonderful plant. Actually, I've heard that there's lots of like lore, and it's actually part of the nine herbs charm, which is like the old English charm from the 10th century that talks about 9 herbs, and mugwort is the first one. I'm going to read that to you. But yeah, I don't know. There's so much stuff. So check it out. Check it out. Find some information about mugwort, and I hope that you have really nice dreams. Okay, I'm going to read the little charm. Remember, mugwort, what you made known, what you arranged at the great proclamation. You were called Una, the oldest of herbs. You have power against 3 and against 30. You have power against poison and against infection. You have power against the loathsome foe roving through the land. And then it goes on to talk about plantain and nettles and mayapple and some of the other plants. So yes, mugwort, crownswort, artemisia. I highly recommend you getting to know this plant. Oh, another thing I thought that was interesting, every plant supposedly has a planetary association, and the planetary association with Artemisia is Venus. So it's like a Friday plant because Venus, Friday. Venusian, it's the Venusian plant. And it's just beautiful, and I highly recommend you have some in your life. All right. Happy knitting and happy dreaming. Talk to you soon. Well, since I'm here, I'm going to show you my latest design, which is Al Sol y Yodo. It's a beautiful top. I'm so excited about it. I knit this using sheep sheaths, like cotton dyed in indigo, and it's a set that comes with like a gradient of colors, and it starts, I started on the back knitting the green. I don't know if you can see it that well. Isn't that like the first rule of filming, that you should never have the light source behind you? But we're rebels here. And so I knit the back first. This is a top, yes. These are the sides with the yellow on the side, which I think is really fun. The yellow is dyed with turmeric, and this is a cotton that I was gifted by Nat. Hello, Nat. And I dyed it with turmeric, and so I used that. And then this is the blue from the sheep sheaths set of colors. And as you can tell, you can make like sections of different colors if you want, like striping it, or you can make it more solid, and it's reversible. And yeah, up here I did the neck. You could definitely have done, I was thinking about doing an I-cord edge around the neck, but I'm fine with it. And the fun part about this pattern is it's really easy. So what I did was I knit the back, and then I knit the front, basically just squares, and then I tried it on, like kind of, I did Kitchener stitch along the edge, which Kitchener stitch, don't be afraid of it, it's actually really awesome. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with Kitchener stitch. And so you Kitchener stitch this, I like tried it on, and I saw how much like fabric I wanted on this part of the work. And so it's interesting because if you saw that it was like way too small, I mean way too small, no, but you could really increase this and make this side panel maybe like this big, you know, like, so you could have more fabric down the side if you think that this is too small. Or the other way around, if you see that it's like big already, then you can kind of just do a thin little to connect these two pieces, and that's it. And so I think it's really versatile, and I love a pattern like that you can kind of go adapting to your body as you knit it, because you never know what's going to happen with your gauge, and you never know how it's going to turn out when it's actually knit up. I mean, my gauge changes, and my maths sometimes don't end up the way I thought they were going to be. So I'm really excited about this top. I'm really happy. I did have some problems with it. I had to like undo this whole idea that I had and like redo the front, but I'm so happy with the way it turned out. So that is my Al Sol y Yodo pattern, which is now available on Ravelry and Ko-Fi. So if you're interested in knitting this up, you can get it. It's super easy. I mean, honestly, you could probably just do this yourself. You don't really even need a pattern, but if you want, it's there. I can walk you through it, and if you have any questions about knitting it, let me know. But again, super easy, super fun, and I hope that you all make your own Sol y Yodo.